Hello, everybody. I'm Chad Austin. I'm the owner of Priority Fitness in Overland Park, Kansas, and I'm also the author of the Make Fitness a Priority book series. This is the first interview in our Fit Fitness in Your Life 6-week course series. I have a very special guest today. Joining me today is a co-organizer of our Make Fitness a Priority community, and she also just so happens to be my fiance, Jessie Chat. Thanks for joining me, Jessie.
Happy to be here.
So I know it probably feels like we just started dating yesterday because time flies when you're having fun. But we've actually almost been together 5 years now. I can't believe that. But I definitely, when we first started dating, I definitely would have thought that me being a personal trainer and you being a financial planner, that our worlds would be far apart. But I think we've learned that we definitely have a lot of similarities in our jobs. And so I thought maybe to start the interview, maybe you can explain to our listeners a little bit more about your background and kind of how our worlds kind of collide in helping people with change.
Yeah, happy to do that. So, Chad, as you alluded to, I'm a certified financial planner, and I work with individuals and families to help them clarify goals, create plans, and then take action around their financial lives. But that system of clarifying your goal, creating a plan, and taking action really can be applied to your physical fitness life, your wellness life, all areas of where you're trying to get from where you are today to where you would like to be. And so there are so many parallels between Chad's work as a personal trainer and my work as a financial planner. We just have different subject matter. But really the most common thing is we both work with humans and humans who are trying to change something.
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely learned that I think when it comes to my mission is helping people make fitness a priority. I think the hardest time to do that is when life throws us curveballs like it has and like it did in 2020. So like when big changes happen, that's when it's hard to keep balance in your life. And I know one of your titles is a transition specialist. And so you help people with change because you how do you help your clients keep their priorities or maybe keep their balance when life throws us big changes?
Yeah. So I would say, you said your mission is to help people make fitness a priority, keep fitness a priority. I want to help my clients feel really confident around finances and their financial life, but also to not get overwhelmed. And when life gives us a big curveball, could be a pandemic, could be a divorce, could be the birth of a child, could be retirement, could be a death. When life changes, money often changes. And what I find is that's a time for people to get really overwhelmed. So one of the things that we do in transitions work then specifically is, and this is similar to personal training, you want people to come in and have a safe space to open up and talk about what's going on. And as the trainer or the coach or the planner, then you want to essentially, in transitions, we call it, you want to get on the balcony. So the client's on the dance floor, and by getting on the balcony as the coach, you're helping them gain perspective and seeing that's the analogy of the forest amongst the trees. So they're in the change, and change can be really overwhelming at times, or it can be hard to get clarity. And so that's one thing we can do is we can come up to the balcony and say, here's what I see. Here's what I know to be true about you from our working together. And then you give the work back because it's still their lives. It's still the change. The client has to make the change. I can't make it for them. Chad can't make, I guess he could move our legs for us and move our arms for us. But it doesn't work that way. So you have to give the work back. And that's a constant cycle. Create safe space, get on the balcony, give the work back. But that's how you come alongside somebody when they're in the midst of big change. And then there's other things, specifically in financial life planning, that we do around just helping to ease overwhelm or ease confusion But really, you first have to kind of see where the person is, and they have to see themselves where they are. Where are they in their transition? Are they at the beginning? Are they in the middle? Are they at the end? And how are they doing? Are they in flow? Are they moving through their transition and they just need those gentle nudges, or are they stuck? And it's the people who get stuck in change where a coach, a trainer, a planner can be really helpful.
Yeah. In my job, one big lesson a trainer has to learn is that everybody's different. And so like everybody's story, everybody's in a different spot. What worked for one person is not going to work for the next person. Is that something you've learned too?
Absolutely. That's actually something we really pride ourselves in, is that the work I do with people is really customized, because at the end of the day, like I said, we work with humans and every human is uniquely themselves. And so you can't have just the same set of recommendations that's going to work for everyone. Now, there's similarities that pop out. And I know you see this too, and there's themes. You can help normalize things, which I think is important when somebody's going through change and if they're struggling. But no, you have to customize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can know basically if someone has a low back pain and they have a sedentary job where they sit forward at a desk all day, I can have a pretty good idea. But it doesn't mean it's going to be the same solution for them as it was for the last person I faced that way. So I'm sure I appreciate that lesson that you had to learn with your job too. So obviously the theme of my interview with you is going to be change. So I'll often call you the chief financial officer when we give our tips on Saturdays. One thing I know people, when I want to help someone get long-term success, a lot of times it means relearning or changing the way we think. And so a lot of times that means changing our habits. And I know that's one thing that you have to do a lot with and you've done had a lot of great talks I've heard you do over the years about how you change your bad habits into make good habits. And so I'd like to just hear your take on that just a little bit, how you help people make that change.
Yeah. So really, we have to understand when we look at habits, especially bad habits or trying to build a new habit, we need to understand what exactly is a habit. And there's two resources that I like to use. One is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. That's probably not how you say his last name. The second one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. These are two great resources if you really want to plow into, I've got some habits that I'm really unhappy about and I want to change, or I've got some habits that I'm really trying to build. These are great resources for you. But where the power of habit starts, the very beginning, is basically understanding the anatomy of a habit. What makes a habit a habit? There's a cue, a routine, and a reward in all habits. It's this loop that's happening. So I'm going to use an example of, in the afternoon, a bad habit of eating chocolate chip cookies. So it's 3 p.m. I'm craving something sweet for a variety of reasons. Very well could just be boredom. And so my cue is that it's 3 p.m, but my cue could also be something emotional. So if there's something emotional going on in your life, it may cue you to want to eat something that you don't actually want to eat. It could be situational. It could be you're at somebody's house, and when I'm at that person's house, I always have more wine than I should. Whatever the cue is, think about it. It could be situational, physical, behavioral, emotional, boredom. Then that pushes me into, okay, so the cues happened. And if I have a habit, then I'm going to go into my routine. So if I'm at work, 3 p.m, I'm a little bored. Maybe I'm like exhausted from my day. My routine is to go into the kitchen and start scrounging around for something to eat. Well, there's always cookies there. So then my routine becomes, I just grab a couple cookies and I go back to my desk. And the reward is, look, I broke up the boredom. Or if I'm emotional about something, I've got something sweet that's going to, in theory, cure my emotional concerns. It won't, but I've got a reward. So if I'm breaking a bad habit, the cue is always going to be there. It's really hard to change the cue. Where you want to focus on change in a habit is with the routine. So if it's 3 p.m. and I start feeling kind of itchy, like I need that cookie, really what I want to try to change is not the fact that it's 3 p.m, but the routine. So instead of going to the kitchen getting cookies, maybe I go take a 5-minute walk. The reward is I broke up the boredom, or I dealt with the emotional, or I handled the behavioral, the physical, whatever is going on in the cue, I handled through a different routine that led to the actual reward that I wanted. So that cue, routine, reward works really well if you're trying to break a habit. So look at the actual habit. What's cueing you? What is your response? What's your routine? What's the reward? And focus on changing the routine and the reward, not the cue. Then if you're wanting to build a habit, find natural cues that you can build the habit around and create the routine and the reward. So natural cue, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth. If you're trying to do something good in the morning, like meditate, take your medicine, make your bed, do a workout, stack it on top of something that's already a cue, something that's already habitually happening. And that can really help people, I believe, change bad habits or start good habits. But so much of life goes back to being built on habits in our work with Chad and I, because a lot of times people come into wanting to have better discipline with physical fitness, or better discipline with their wellness, or better discipline with their finances. And they rely too much on willpower at the beginning. And that will exhaust out. Motivation will exhaust out. And then you're stuck with your habits.
Yeah, those are I really like both of those things. The changing the routine after the cue, that thinks of the throwing out the temptation that we just talked about in the first week, early in the first week. But then the habit stacking there too. I know that's big for success for me. It seems like so much of success in this is being self-aware and learning how to be observant of your own behavior so you can make better behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so going into, so right now it's the beginning of the year, and I just got done listening to you have a great talk this morning on New Year's resolutions. And so we know the definition of insanity. Both of us work in behavioral change. So doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. And I know as humans, we're creatures of habit, and we hate change. We don't like change. And so but knowing that if you want something different, especially for New Year's people, if you want something different this year than you did last year, then you're going to have to do something different. So how do you get your clients into that mindset, that mind shift that they're going to have to make some changes if they want their changes that are their goals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it. I believe it truly starts with awareness. If we're getting caught in cycles of where, and this happens to me all the time, a client will come in and they'll say, I have this goal that I want to retire, and we know how much money they need to save, and they're consistently not hitting their savings goals. And they just keep trying the same thing. Okay, it's a new year. I'm really going to get my budget under control. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to do it this way. Look, part of our job, I think, as trainers, coaches, and advisors, is to come alongside somebody and be like, you're caught in a cycle of insanity. You keep trying the same thing and it's not working. And coming alongside somebody with grace of, hey, that's really normal. But making them aware, like, let's get more aware of your tendencies towards meeting expectations that you've set on yourself. And this is what I talked about this morning. This is Gretchen Rubin's work on the 4 tendencies. But she helps people through this book and this quiz you can take on her website get really clear on how they respond to expectations, whether it's expectations we put on ourselves or expectations others have put on us. I think that little bit of self-awareness can go a really long way, because if we're aware of, okay, so let's say I'm working with somebody and their tendency is they respond really well to external expectations, but not so much to internal expectations. That would be an obliger. Then I'm going to work with them more closely on follow-up. They need an accountability person. They need to know that I'm going to email them in a week or a month and say, hey, did you get that thing done? And they're more apt to do it. Those are the clients that I follow up with more often. But I have clients who are really good at doing their homework, so to speak. They are going to keep their internal expectations. They're going to keep anything that I've said, hey, I think you should do this to be successful with your goals. I don't have to follow up with those people as much. Those people are called upholders. And they're going to come back in. They're going to email me in 2 weeks and be like, got my list done. Great. So I think you have to really know yourself and set up your life. set up your plans, set up your goals, your intentions, your resolutions, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, set it up to where it really works for you. I have a very different style than most of the people that I talk to about this. I'm a pretty strong upholder. So I don't need a lot of external accountability. Makes me a really good accountability buddy. And I know mostly obligers. They need a lot of external accountability. So if they're talking to me and they're stuck on something, I'm like, you just need some more external accountability. You need that guilt that you didn't get something done and somebody's going to follow up with you. That's not bad. Use it. We make this really hard on ourselves. Behavioral changes are really simple. They're just not easy. So that's one of the way I work with clients is we try to just get them talking. Like, let's get them to be more self-aware. Let's get them to understand. The other thing I do with change, and I think this is a really important one too, is if they're trying to do something. So I was actually just talking to a client yesterday, and she needs to do something, and we identified in our conversation that in order to do this, she needs to make a really big decision in her career. She said, the thing that I think I need is courage. And I said, okay, I know you well enough to know there has been a period in your life where you had to do something and it required courage. And how did you get yourself there? Our best teachers are ourselves and our past selves. So if I'm doing something, if I'm trying to set up a new fitness habit, or I'm trying to save money, if a client comes to me and says, I really want to save for this goal, I'll say, when did you last save for a goal? And what did that look like? And what did you set up? And were you successful? Or so using your successes or using your past failures to not fall back into the same loop of it just didn't go right this time.
Yeah, that's great. So this will fit in well with that. So we were talking before that normally when you start something, so this time of year, everyone's fueled by motivation, but anytime you start something new, you have a lot of motivation. So often the beginning is easy, but then it won't be long until that early part of your program motivation kind of goes away, and then you're to the hard part again. So we've talked about that a little bit lately, the two of us. But how do you help people get through that tough stretch when that early motivation is gone? How do you keep them focused and keep it going?
Yeah, I think this is where we have to fall back on structure and habits. So one of the things that in this program, Chad, you had us do was throw out the temptation and set ourselves up for success. Those are your two key cornerstones to beginning a program. I'm on day 5 right now of a 10-day detox cleanse kind of thing where I'm really just focused on getting a lot more vegetables, plants in my body. And at this point on day 5, I am running purely on the fact that my environment is set up to help me be successful. There is nothing that is available to me to consume that I don't want to be consuming. Our house is cleaned out right now. There's not a good thing in our house right now as it relates to sugar or carbs or anything like that. So Chad and I are pretty good. We're good at setting up the environment. And I tell clients this with their money. Look, if you want to stop online shopping, delete your password out of Amazon. Delete your credit card number off of your online accounts. You have to set up your environment for you to be successful. Because if you're just going in and saying, nah, I'll be able to resist it. Absolutely on Monday you will. But by Thursday night, heck no. There had been an open bottle of wine in our house last night. I probably would have had a glass. There's not an open bottle of wine in our house for a reason. So you have to set up your environment. Then you have to fall back on your habits. And this is why habits are so important, because we need to, when we run out of motivation, we run out of willpower, we need to have something we fall back on. And if what we're falling back on is bad behaviors or a lack of habit, then we're toast. The third thing that's really, I think, an interesting concept and something I'm still learning more about, which I learned from Atomic Habits, is making these things that we're trying to change part of our identity. So if I'm starting a 6-week program with Chad, and part of this program, the goal of this program is for me to learn how to fit fitness into my life. Or if a client comes and works with me and they want to feel more confident with their finances. I think one of the things we have to do is be really clear how we talk to ourselves and what we say about ourselves. And this comes back to our identity. If I say I'm a person that is physically fit, then everything I do, if I'm true to myself and my identity, and we tend to be people of pretty high integrity. I mean, there's, people out there, but I'm still gonna be hopeful that most humans have pretty high integrity. Then you're gonna do what you say that you are, not what you say you do. So if you say, I'm gonna go to the gym later, think of instead saying, I'm a person that goes to the gym. And name it and call yourself that. So if you want to become more physically, if you want to become more financially fit, in that you want to be hitting your savings goals, feel really good about how you're spending your money, feel really confident that you have a plan and you're on track, I would encourage my clients to say, I'm a financially conscious person, or I am a financially confident person. Again, I'm still learning more about this, but I can see the power of it because there's a lot of power in identity. We take a lot of pride in our identity. We're moms, we're dads, we're brothers, we're sisters, we're trainers, we're coaches, we're fiancés, whatever it is that we put on ourselves. And if I am that, then my actions better show up in that way. But if I keep telling myself I'm a lazy slog trying to get better at fitness, I'm not going to be as successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that identity. There's a lot of really good stuff we covered in this interview about helping change your routine, helping stack habits, helping change your identity, change your mindset. I think one thing that really stuck with me though is that one thing you said that I say a lot is that it's simple, it's not easy. You'll never hear me tell someone that making fitness a priority is easy. It's not easy, but it's anyone can do it. That's a way I like to say it. It's not easy, but anyone can do it. And so it takes you believing you can do it for one. And so right now, a lot of people, this is the beginning of their fitness journey, or it's the beginning of them restarting their fitness journey. What maybe closing thoughts? What good advice? Words of encouragement maybe could you give someone right now who could be beginning?
Yeah, don't take on too much. So this is not this cliche is worn out, but this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. It comes back to that identity. You're forming your identity. You don't do that in a short period of time, right? Takes a long period of time. So it's okay, and maybe this is a little bit of my personality coming out, but this is often what I need to hear. It's okay to only change one or two things at a time and give yourself the ability, instead of going really wide with everything I want to change and to be different in this new year at the start of this program, to go a little bit deeper. So because I'm an upholder, and I like rules and I like expectations, I actually have to kind of limit myself and be like, you only get to change like one or two things right now. And it forces you to prioritize, and it'll help you be more successful if you're focusing on less. So take this slow and be deliberate about it. The last thing is also acknowledge that this is hard. Just acknowledging that it's hard, but we can do hard things. Thank you, Glennon Doyle. That naming takes some of the power away of it being so hard. If we just admit to each other, gosh, I'm trying to do this really hard thing. You know what? It's hard, but I've done hard things before and I know I'm going to do it. So start small, acknowledge what it is, and don't get done in.
That's perfect. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for jumping on here to do this interview with me. This is really powerful stuff, and I know this will help a lot of people do a lot of tough things as they start their fitness journey. So thank you, Jessie.
Thank you. I feel honored to be asked, so thank you.
You bet. Thank you, everybody. And you'll see all of Jess's information and all the descriptions wherever we post this. Thank you.
Thank you.